So, imagine you're me. You're walking through life. You've had a great year so far. I mean, look at the sights. It's been a great time. You're scrolling on Instagram, you see a video of two hockey players kissing. Turns out only one of them was a hockey player. There was just so much padding, I couldn't even tell the difference. And I was like, "What's that about? What are they doing?" Yeah, I don't know if I can really commit to a new show. I don't know if I can really commit. Commitment is hard. It is. You watch a show, you get invested, and then it ends. That's bullshit. So then I was scrolling some more, and then I saw a video of these two guys sitting in a weight room, and they're just breathing heavy, and they're looking at each other, and they're drinking the same water bottle. And I'm like, yeah, there's something going on over here. Let's see how heated it really gets. Heated Rivalry is a very bright, vibrant, colorful show. And as I was getting into it, Heated Rivalry hits you with one of its biggest litmus tests, where if you can't get past this, you're not gonna like the show because it's kind of the whole point. And it's all of the love scenes.
You think this will be enough?
People have a really hard time with intimacy in movies and television for some reason. There's a lot of hangups about this, and you'll see this across the spectrum of many age groups and demographics. Even Gen Z, the wokest Gen Z person you know, will suddenly become a puritanical right winger who is just like, oh no, an extended scene that isn't about the plot? Satan, get away from me. Get away from me. It's very strange. It almost reminds me of like old people when they watch a really gory movie and they're like, oh, I can't handle that. But they watch like every cop show on network television where at the end the bad guy gets shot a bunch of times and it's completely bloodless. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, that's fine. That's totally fine. I can watch that. And it's just like completely distancing you from the humanity of that act. And I feel like movies and television have run into this same wall with intimacy where it's virtually non existent. There's no blood. And I feel like when people get puritanical about, intimacy in movies and television, I just find that so boring. You want to see reality reflected. I mean, we live in a moment aesthetically for the last like 20 years where surrealism is sort of been pushed to the side and we want realism, but when it comes to intimacy, it's like, nope, sorry, I can't read all of a sudden. That's crazy. I think that's crazy. And that's what I find so interesting about Heated Rivalry is that it's not only about the fact that it's a gay relationship that is very intimate on screen and very explicit. It's also the fact that it's about sex. It is just about sex. The plot points revolve around the before, the during, the after, and the in between. Those are all very important parts of the human experience, and seeing it through the lens of someone who is virtually an adult virgin who hasn't gone through this experience before and is going through that experience with someone who's very experienced and is also just kind of mean to them. A very interesting dynamic. Not a healthy dynamic, but it is an interesting one. And this just may be the straight in me. I'm straight. I'm in gay people business right now. But I wish we got to see the rivalry aspect of Heated Rivalry more, especially during the hockey games. I felt like it would have been pretty interesting as a contrast to see more of how the hockey games that they played against each other impacted their moments in private. I feel like the context of what we know about these people in their private life would have impacted the scenes that we see more of in their public life, especially when they're playing against each other, whether it's Ilya doing something very, aggressive on the court. They're on ice. Who am I? How straight am I if I'm mixing up ice for court? I need to go to bed. We did get some of it. I just wish we got more of it in very specific ways. But there is one scene that just took me in such a way that I had to rewind and watch it 3 times. And then when I came back the next day to watch the next episode, I went back to that scene and I watched it again. And if you don't know what scene I'm talking about, you do. It's the club scene. It was always going to be the club scene. You knew that already. Heated Rivalry was just a pretty good show. I was entertained, but once I saw this scene, I was suddenly compelled by this show. And I felt like the potential that this show has was realized within this sequence. And I kind of want to walk you through why I was so pulled in by this moment. So first we have to talk about the song that's used in this sequence, and it's All the Things She Said. It's a very iconic song. And beyond the fact that this song is iconic, there is also a story behind this song and the group that sung it. So this music video is about these two girls who are trapped. There's a fence, there's onlookers, they're all wearing black. They're hiding from the rain with their umbrellas. There is nothing behind them, so there's all this space and depth behind them. And then when we cut back to the singers, they're trapped behind the fence. There's a wall behind them, so they're visually squished. They're going back and forth on the fence, and they don't know what to do. And they're trying to make their way through the fence. They're trying to get past the fence when suddenly they find their own way, and it's in the opposite direction. And so this duo was in a very public lesbian relationship, and it all turned out to be fake. There was a public life where they sold this relationship, and a private life where they weren't together and it was just all an act. And as I've been explaining this to you, I hope that you've been seeing the parallels with Heated Rivalry and how it's sort of the inverse of that. They are trapped by, society and expectations and all of these things and the role that they play as hockey players, all of this stuff. And it comes out through this song and it plays out in this way. So obviously context matters. Ilya has a lot going on leading into this. He didn't play well. They had a bad conversation, right? This angle is very awkward. Like, it could be, the camera could pull back more, but it feels so strange. And so once we turn to him, it just has this weird feeling to it. It doesn't feel right. So it's all very hazy. These shots are very hazy. They're moving. They're out of focus. They're at very long lenses. They're very distant. And a lot of what you're going to see in this sequence is very distant point of view shots where we're far away, but we're close at the same time. And also, the other thing that's important is that when he looks at these people, they're not looking back at him. So when we cut back to Ilya and he's still looking around, he feels even more isolated. This is a very common feeling when you're in a big room and you just feel invisible. As we're looking around through Ilya's point of view, suddenly we cut and the lens is a little bit wider. First of all, this dress. And suddenly, when we cut, we're in point of view. And it doesn't make the distinction. We don't introduce before we see through his eyes. It feels like we're looking through Ilya's eyes and we can't tell the difference. This is reflective of how he's walking into this moment quite literally. And then when we cut to him, this is who he is. He's the only one in focus. He's isolated from the background. There's conflict within the cut, which I find interesting. So when we cut to this shot and we're here and he's trying to talk to his girlfriend and he's trying to play the role, the straight hockey player, he's cut off by this blue, and then he's trapped by these bottles, and he's got this plant, and he's just surrounded by a lot of things. It's kind of like the music video where he's trapped. There's all of these elements within the frame that are trapping him. Another thing to mention is the costume. Usually when a character is wearing layers, the color of the shirt is supposed to reflect their inner life, and the color on the top layer is supposed to reflect their outer life. So he's wearing black and he's wearing white. Usually white means purity and whatever, and black usually means death and darkness. And, it's a very simple metaphor, but it's there. Suddenly within this cut, he loses his blazer and he's trying to make an attempt at being in this relationship. And the important thing to know is that this show is not saying that they're listening to all the things she said at the fucking club. It's non-diegetic, which is another thing that I find interesting, where the characters have their own song in their head. I think that shit's very fun. I like it. So the isolation that I was talking about with the focus comes in the foreground, literally in this shot, where everyone is in focus and he pulls away and suddenly he's the only one in focus. Everyone is kicked out of the frame and he's in his own head again. And what does he see? He sees, and there's jealousy. We don't see him talk to someone else about how he feels. He just feels it. And to me, that's important. Also, the main color in this sequence is red. It's like a pinkish red, but it's a red, and it's in contrast with how isolating and cold the visuals are in terms of the lens choice and the compositions. It's awesome. It's so awesome. One thing that's really hard to show because of copyright on YouTube is how the song itself plays a role in the visuals and the performance and the blocking and the plotting of the scene itself, where it's almost like the song is writing the scene or the scene is informing the song, and it's like they're in conversation with each other. So I'm just going to play this quick part for like 5 seconds and hopefully I don't get fucking clapped by copyright. It's just speaking for itself. I don't have to say shit. And then the song cuts to this club remix, and I just found this as a very nice transition because the fact that it changes into a different version of the song signals a change in the character. Because now look, we're back on a fucking tight lens. We're so far away from him, and he just needs to break out, and this is his point of view. I love that we're on this shot and suddenly it just turns to slow-mo. It's awesome. It's so cool. Almost every time during this part of the sequence where we get to the part where they say this is not enough and we're on, and it's all about his internal monologue of none of the things that he has being worth it because he has to struggle with who he is. Every aspect of this is absolutely tearing him apart. And he's, again, isolated from the environment. He's on a long lens. He's very emotionally distant from the audience. But you can see everything that he feels. And I think the interesting thing about the performance is that he doesn't have to do much here. Look at him. Look at his eyes. He's just tracking her. And then he snaps out of it and whatever. But I almost wish that he kind of didn't do that. I kind of wish that he stayed. I wish that he tried to hide it more. I mean, it's just awesome. It almost doesn't do it justice to try to explain what is clearly being communicated non-verbally. But I'm trying. The shots of them just looking at each other in the club could have been enough, right? This could have been it. But it's not just about this, okay? It's more than this because we cut to what he's doing in the future with his girlfriend. But the fact that we keep cutting back to this is in contrast. All the things that we've been watching up until this point is crystallized into a sequel. Oh my God, there's butt. There's butt now. Okay. This is something you can only get with cinema, with the edit and, the camera, where you can see these two characters who are talking to each other through the cut. They're looking at each other. And then when they look into the camera and the cut brings them together, literally, like, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Like that little cut, like this part, when they cut back and forth, it took my breath away. It's not just the fact that the aesthetics were reflecting the plot that we had just been watching for the last 3 or 4 hours. It's the fact that the aesthetics kept advancing and it kept evolving, where the performance, the shots, and the edit all came into one thing, and it was communicating an idea of how it feels when you're wanting to be with someone else, but you're stuck in another relationship or in a reality of your own making. And I just found this so compelling. It was just so compelling. I wish shows would do this more. I wish that movies would do this more. I feel like even movies are just not taking advantage of what is right in front of them.